So we would spar. Sometimes I'll see him in the training setup as well. And that was it, really.
These guys aren't playing, and Jake better understand that now, because I can promise you, Anthony Joshua is not going to play with him, and he's going to bring that real power to him.
This guy is a fucking animal. Like, he has.
There's various ways I'll win. I got the fighter spirit, and that's how I'll go in there and break him down.
Breaking. Anthony Joshua knocked out Terence Crawford during sparring as part of his intense preparation for Jake Paul. This wasn't friendly work. It was serious drilling, showing Joshua's power and focus as he sharpens himself for a real test against a much smaller and less proven opponent.
Heavyweight gold medalist, a two-time heavyweight champion of the world.
He is not here to play. In the back of his mind, he's saying, how dare Jake Paul call me out? He came into this fight thinking, I'm gonna hurt this guy.
Winning isn't everything. Winning is.
Anthony Joshua says he doesn't expect anything from anyone and won't let talk about sparring distract him. He makes it clear he's focused only on handling his own camp and doing his job, training hard and sticking to his plan. That calm confidence shows he's not worried about hype or noise, just sharpening himself for the big test against Jake Paul, trusting his experience and warrior mindset as he prepares for fight night.
Anyway, I just don't expect anything from anyone. People are entitled to talk about sparring. People are entitled to not talk about sparring. I just got to make sure that I handle my own corner. And how I'm gonna handle my own corner is do what I do, go out to fight every night. That the dates are put in front of me and just do my job. That's how I handle my business.
Terence Crawford says greatness comes from fighting and beating the most champions. After getting knocked in sparring with Anthony Joshua during preparation for Jake Paul, Crawford's words show how real fighters earn respect by facing the toughest tests. His focus on beating champions unintentionally highlights that Joshua has done those real battles, while Jake Paul hasn't stood in with elite title fighters yet.
Led him to be so great, you know, because he fought the most champions, beat the most champions, you know, got the most money for beating the most champions.
Carl Froch repeats Anthony Joshua's line that Jake or anyone can get this work and that there will be no mercy from a world-class heavyweight. Froch then points out that Jake Paul has no real experience, no big fights, and no heavyweight ranking, making him look like easy work compared to Joshua's legacy. This highlights the clear gap in real boxing pedigree between Joshua and Paul.
And Anthony Joshua said, Jake or anyone can get this work, no mercy. I took some time out, I'm coming back with a mega show. It's a big opportunity for me, whether you like it or not. I'm here to do massive numbers, have big fights and break every record whilst keeping cool, calm and collected. So chill in it. I mean, come on, he's jumping in with fake Paul, who has no experience and no fights and no world ranking at heavyweight. Easy work, easy.
Eddie Hearn lays it bare, warning Jake Paul he must be careful because Anthony Joshua's power and skill are on another level. Hearn calls Joshua a real fighter and makes Paul's jump to heavyweight look risky, especially compared to the elite opposition Joshua has faced throughout his career.
This is like that, but I said to Jake Paul, you ain't in a box, mate, and this ain't David Blaine. I said, so just be careful, because AJ will take your head clean off your shoulders, and it's you know, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And you take on that responsibility, and we all have to, so we got to think about that. But this is Anthony fighting a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. It's not something that we would normally do.
Yeah. Eddie Hearn doesn't hold back, flatly calling Jake Paul average as a boxer, even after Paul brags about beating a UFC champ. Hearn pushes back on Paul's self-belief, pointing out that real boxing greatness isn't built on social media hype or a handful of mismatched wins, but on years of real competition.
No, but you're still average. You're not.
That's not true. I just beat a 5-time world champion.
A UFC.
You don't even know. You don't know my ability though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't.
I don't know where you might go. I just give you where I think you're at, which I'm entitled to, which is average.
Carl Froch is pointing straight at the elephant in the room by calling Anthony Joshua a big punching heavyweight, while highlighting that Jake Paul has never faced real heavyweights. Froch brings up Paul's loss to Tommy Fury and uses it to expose just how thin Paul's resume really is compared to Joshua's long history of elite competition, making this matchup feel like a mismatch built on hype more than substance. Paul's fame doesn't equate to the gritty ring experience Joshua has been forged in.
But AJ's a big punching heavyweight, and fake Paul's never been in with a heavyweight. Like I said earlier, he lost to Tommy Fury, a cruiserweight. He lost to him. Tommy Fury's not even British level, so you can't chuck fake Paul in with Anthony Joshua and take it serious. Why can't I?
Simon Jordan doesn't hold back in this clip. He calls the idea of Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua absurd, because Joshua is a true two-time heavyweight champion, someone with a legacy built on real world-class fights. Jordan admits Joshua hit a rough patch after Daniel Dubois, but still stresses there's nothing physically stopping him from executing at elite level. In contrast to Paul's limited resume, Jordan's words show the huge gap between a seasoned champion and a crossover personality who hasn't proven himself against top-tier competition.
Not his financial welfare, but Jake Paul going into a fight with Anthony Joshua, to me, is absurd. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a legitimate two-time heavyweight champion of the world. He may have got destroyed by Daniel Dubois, but notwithstanding, there's nothing physically wrong with Anthony Joshua that he can't execute. Mentally, he might be in a little bit of a difficult position.
Derek Chisora's blunt take cuts through all the hype. He says Jake Paul looks like an easy fight for Anthony Joshua, but then adds that Joshua won't just play around. He'll smoke him. Chisora speaks from the perspective of someone who has been in trenches with real heavyweights, and his prediction strips away the celebrity spectacle to point straight at the reality of the ring. When a seasoned pro predicts a quick, clear-cut outcome for Joshua, it highlights how stacked Joshua's credentials are compared to Paul's limited test of real boxing chops.
Easy fight for him. And I think this should be laid to rest, because I don't think AJ's gonna go in and try and pat. AJ's gonna smoke him.
Johnny Nelson pulls no punches in this clip. He calls Jake Paul crazy for thinking he can hang with Anthony Joshua, who he labels not just a former two-title heavyweight champ, but someone who doesn't fight soft. He fights to knock out his opponent. Nelson also points out that Paul's bravado and showmanship are great for selling tickets and purses, but they have nothing to do with real boxing skill or championship pedigree. In the narrative of this build-up, Nelson's assessment puts Paul's swagger in perspective and reminds viewers that hype doesn't beat real champions.
Because Jake Paul is crazy. If he thinks he can get it with Anthony Joshua, former two-time heavyweight champion of the world, and play tiddlywinks, I don't think AJ plays touch. He plays knock the F out.
Abel Sanchez frames this matchup as almost too easy for Anthony Joshua. He says the risk is small and the reward is huge, because Paul hasn't faced anyone who truly challenges him, bringing up Paul's loss to Tommy Fury as proof. Sanchez calls the fight a farce from the standpoint of a real boxing fan, a far cry from elite heavyweight competition. His words highlight how Paul's lack of meaningful tests stands in stark contrast to Joshua's career filled with world-class opponents. This makes the narrative of a real contest harder to swallow for purists.
And a fight for AJ, very little risk, extremely little risk, and a big reward. I mean, why would you not take it? But as a fight fan, I thought it was a farce. I mean, Tommy Fury beat Jake Paul. It may not be, it may be a little while back, but still, he hasn't improved that much. And he hasn't been fighting anybody that's posed a problem for him.
Tommy Fury makes it clear that if he himself can defeat Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua's power and skill would be on a completely different level. He exaggerates just to make the point that Joshua would dominate in a matter of seconds, even with limitations. This again shows the massive gap between Paul's experience and Joshua's true heavyweight class. Fury's comparison highlights how Joshua's elite status makes Paul look completely out of his depth and emphasizes why real fighters view this matchup as one-sided despite the hype.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past him.
David Benavidez acknowledges Jake Paul's efforts, but warns that fighting Anthony Joshua is extremely dangerous for him. He emphasizes Joshua's multiple world championships and Olympic gold medal to show the level of skill and experience Paul would be facing. Benavidez predicts that the fight is heavily in Joshua's favor and that Paul is likely to be overwhelmed. His words underline the vast difference in credentials, ring IQ, and championship experience, reinforcing the idea that Paul's hype does not match the harsh reality of facing a true elite heavyweight like Joshua.
I give 100% respect to Jake Paul, but that's a dangerous fight for him. He probably gets knocked out, and I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not saying nothing bad, but Anthony Joshua is Anthony Joshua. You know, he's multiple-time champion.
Anthony Joshua speaks about pushing himself beyond previous limits and building on his existing skills. He emphasizes self-motivation and seeking challenging environments to improve his craft. This shows Joshua's focus on personal growth and preparedness for any opponent, including Jake Paul. His approach reflects a disciplined champion mindset, contrasting with Paul's hype-driven tactics and limited real fighting experience. By seeking higher levels of stimulation and challenge, Joshua demonstrates why he remains a top-level heavyweight, mentally and physically ready, and why stepping into the ring with him presents a challenge no crossover fighter has truly faced yet.
On what I have, and I want to see how far I can take myself. I know what it takes, I know what this game's about, and I'm going to push myself beyond the limits where I've been before, hence why I found myself in Dallas, because I'm trying to find an environment that can stimulate me, motivate me, and push me on to...
Logan Paul highlights the enormous experience gap between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. He describes Joshua as almost perfect, noting his knockout record against heavyweight champions and elite pedigree. Logan stresses that Paul cannot match this level of skill, preparation, or ring intelligence. By comparing Joshua to a sculpted gladiator, he illustrates how intimidating a fight with Joshua would be for Paul, and why hype and social media fame cannot substitute for actual experience, talent, and championship caliber. Joshua's proven ability to finish top opponents reinforces the idea that Paul is stepping into territory far beyond his current ability.
Going to be coming at you in the fight. The experience difference, Anthony Joshua was a former heavyweight champion who's knocked out heavyweight champions.
Has he ever tried like Ozempic or Manjaro?
This is a guy who is already perfect.
Okay.
He's perfect.
Okay.
He's like, if you could sculpt like a perfect gladiator human being, it's Anthony Joshua.
Wow.
Ben Davison talks about the dangers Jake Paul faces when stepping into the ring against someone like Anthony Joshua. He emphasizes that boxing is a sport that requires protection of fighters and points out Joshua's status as one of the most dangerous men to fight. Davison's words underline the reality that Paul is at serious risk and that hype alone cannot prepare a crossover fighter for the skill, power, and experience Joshua possesses. This insight reinforces the gap between Paul and a true heavyweight champion, showing why real professionals take such mismatches very seriously.
Paul have a...
Dangerous in the sense of for the health of Jake, would you say? Yeah.
Yeah, like this is a sport that we love, and I think we need to protect that. And you know, he's one of the most dangerous guys in the world to go step in a ring with. Like, you saw that with Ngannou, who was a seasoned, you know, one of the most durable men on the planet in one of the toughest sports in combat.
As the build-up to Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul intensifies, it is clear that this fight is about far more than just a payday. Joshua has shown in sparring and in his career that he is a heavyweight with power, skill, and championship experience that few can match. Jake Paul may bring hype and showmanship, but his lack of elite competition and proven toughness in the ring makes this matchup heavily one-sided. Mentally and physically, Joshua has prepared for challenges far greater than Paul. If Joshua wins, it will reinforce his dominance and remind the boxing world why he remains a top heavyweight. If Paul somehow shocks everyone, it would be the upset of the decade. But the odds and expert opinions suggest otherwise. Who wants it more? Who is truly ready? And who has faced real champions? All point to Joshua. Are you backing Anthony Joshua, or is Jake Paul pulling the upset? Drop your thoughts below.